Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. It's just Marco here once again, and I am here today to do my top 10 favorite movies of 2024. And I literally just filmed this right after, or I am filming this right after I just finished my last 2024 movie. Now, I will say, there are a couple movies I still would like to watch from 2024. In fact, I forgot all about a couple, because I should have been keeping track all along of movies that I needed to catch up on. But instead, I waited until the last minute, and then I just didn't want to watch anything else, but I had to. And yeah, I would say that 2024, in terms of movies, there were a couple that were really, really good, but a big percentage of movies were bad, and a big percentage were just kind of like okay. They were like movies that I would be really happy with renting at Blockbuster on a Friday night, along with getting pizza. You know what I mean? Like, they're that type of movie. It's like a movie that not really like a movie you'd like to keep. It's a rental, as my my old favorite YouTube channel, Spill Review, or Double Toasted, they would call it a rental. And I would say that 2024 was the year of rentals. So I got quite a few honorable mentions. These are a lot of rentals, and they definitely would not, most of them would not be in my top 10 on any year ever. So number one, Dear Santa. I know that this one's going to get me a lot of controversy, but I don't care. I had a lot of fun with this one. This was a Jack Black comedy movie, and the thing that I liked about it was that it was like a Hallmark movie, and it really made you feel good. And I think that there are a lot of movies nowadays that they don't make you feel good. They make you feel like you regret watching them. And Dear Santa actually makes you feel good, even though it's very predictable, it's very cheap. And I would also say it was a premise that was really poorly executed. I think that the premise had potential to be a really fantastic horror movie. And then I would also say, now I'm not saying this is an honorable mention, but Heretic is still a piece of shit. So I don't know. It's just not as big as a piece of shit as other pieces of shit from last year. And I don't know. I've kind of come around. I really love Hugh Grant. So yeah, I love Hugh Grant. But then I also, I just think, I keep on thinking about that movie. And I keep on like wanting to go back and rewatch it. Just because, like, it's an interesting movie. It's got a lot of stuff to think about. I really like the main actress, who is, like, the one you thought would survive. I think she's pretty hot, so that's another reason that I'd like to watch it again. She has a movie coming out this Friday, too. I'm going to be watching that as soon as fucking possible. Next up is Winter. This is another one where it's literally only in these honorable mentions because it's got a couple of hot babes that are starring in the two leading roles. You got this main chick who, she's kind of like a serial killer. Like the way that she acts in this movie, it's like a true story movie. And she's so creepy. And it's funny because the actress's name is Amelia. So I have nicknamed her Creepy Amelia. And I actually wrote a script. My second movie is what it's going to be. And it is all about a character named Creepy Amelia. And I named it after this girl. But I thought that this movie was bad. But it's good because you can see these two hot chicks in it. And so that's another... I mean, I'm just being honest, guys. I mean, I don't know what you want me to say. Next up is Space Cadet. This is a straight-up rip-off of Legally Blonde, and I like it. even though it's bad, I actually really like this movie. It's another like comfort movie, and it's harmless. It's fun. I also really like Emma Roberts when she plays like good person roles. Like I hate it whenever she plays like a mean girl because it feels like that's just what she could do at any day. Like she's probably a mean girl in real life. But whenever she's playing like a good character, I really enjoy watching her, and she seems really cool. Like I would love to like star in a movie with fucking Emma Roberts, like playing some kind of like a final girl or something like that would be really cool. Like she's just really really good at being like the lead, like a co-lead or a lead, and I'm really drawn to those types of people. Those kinds of people who they just emit power and they just emit like leading role energy. I don't like these actors who suck and then they push them to be leading roles. Like Kevin Hart and people like that who are just complete pieces of trash. And next up, and I really don't even know what I just talked about, by the way. Like, I was just basically spending 5 minutes saying I like Emma Roberts because I do like her sometimes. I think she's cool, too. Next up is Terrifier 3. This was actually a surprisingly fun movie, but it really just felt like the same old thing over again. The only difference was it was shorter and it had some good stuff here and there. The only thing that I really didn't like about it was the fact that it didn't really feel like a complete story. It felt like the sequel that they rushed out because they wanted to take advantage of the popularity. And I also think that the opening sequence is the best part of the movie. It's the only part where it feels serious and it feels like this could have been a great horror movie. But other than that, it's just the same shit over again. Next up is Saturday Night. I had a lot of fun with this movie. I think that the biggest issue that I had was that I didn't know what to believe was true or false. Meaning, like, this is one of those true story movies where they really over-exaggerated everything and they made it just completely over the top. And I just could not tell, like, what was true and what wasn't, to the point of where it kind of ruined the experience because I really like the idea of, like, let's make this Saturday Night Live movie and make it really frantic and chaotic. I mean, this is Chaos, the movie. And I really had a good time with it, though. And it was so enjoyable to me because, and I know that this is making it personal again, but when on the days that I was watching this movie, I was going out to go film in the middle of a blizzard and in the middle of like a snow emergency where we got like over 2 feet of snow. It was a lot of fun. It was so much cool, but it was miserable. And it was like a comfort movie to watch this movie and like watch like the origins of this famous show alongside shooting this sequence for my movie. And this sequence for my movie, I had a lot of problems with it, and it just felt like everything came together in the same way that everything in the movie came together. And I think that another problem I had was the main character who they got to play, Lorne Michaels. He was also the main guy in The Fabelmans, and he is exactly what I meant when I said a character who's really weak, who should not be a leading role, because he is terrible as this Lorne Michaels character, and he is just so weak. And I think in this movie he's weak on purpose, which makes it even worse, because is that what Lorne Michaels was really like the head guy of Saturday Night Live? Like, but yeah. And also I would say it was really disturbing watching John Belushi in this movie, the character, because he was so strung out and just out of it that it really like kind of freaked me out. It's like if someone on my set was acting like that, I would be really concerned about them, and I wouldn't be like let's go on with the show. It's all about the show. Like I would be really concerned about like what is going on with that person, and are they okay? Like what can I do to help them? And but I don't think he was really like that. Like I don't think in real life, I don't know, like, but if he was like how he was in this movie, it's kind of disturbing. It's kind of like, I mean, there's obviously something really, really wrong with him. So yeah. Next up is Kung Fu Panda 4. This movie is kind of a feminazi movie, but I had a lot of fun with it. I think that it was a surprisingly good movie. And it's funny because the Kung Fu Panda movies, like each one of them, you think, oh, okay, that's not going to be the greatest thing ever. But then you watch it and it's always like a surprisingly good time. And I honestly had a good time with Kung Fu Panda 4. Even though I shit all over it. And I'll shit all over it again, too, if you want me to. I like to take lots of shits on movies. Next up is Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. This was a typical, like, this is what you expected from Disney. They treated this like, okay, it's a franchise. Or it's a brand. We gotta make money off the brand. We gotta make another movie so that the people who like the brand will interact with the brand. And I know this because I've been taking surveys for the past couple of years, and once in a while I get this same type of survey where they'll give me a bunch of like movies or franchises and they'll say, what do you think about these brands? How do you want to interact with these brands? And that's exactly what this movie reminded me of. It was like they really just made this movie to make money off of the brand. It really didn't feel like it needed to be made. That being said, it was an okay movie. And I feel like, though, it doesn't really feel like it has a reason to exist. And I hope that with the next movies in the trilogy, that they'll feel a lot more important and they'll be a lot better, because I really expected this to be a lot better than it was. I really liked a lot of things about it, though. Like, I really loved the death of the main villain, where he gets all the hawks to eat the villain and push them off the cliff, I think. I thought that was really, really unique and creative and cool. Yeah. Next up is Hitman. This is a movie where I thought it was going to be something completely different than it was, and that was like my big problem with it. I thought it was going to be like this intense, hardcore, thriller, gritty movie about a hitman, and I thought it was going to be really badass, but then I didn't watch any trailer. So then I went to the movies to see it. This was the one of the only movies I saw in theaters in 2024, and it was something completely different, obviously. It's not about a real hitman at all, and it's more of like a romantic comedy with a BBL as the love interest, and so it's like a different kind of movie, and I really enjoyed the movie, but I thought it was too short. And it was also one of those true story movies where it felt like the true story hampered it. I felt like they wanted to make it more of a movie, but they really couldn't, because they couldn't stray too far away from the true story, and they kind of just, I don't know, it was like a weird Frankenstein monster of a, true story, but not. And also I would say it was fun watching because Glenn Powell played all these different characters in the movie, and it's funny, because nowadays a lot of people, they really frown upon when people play multiple characters, and they act like you're doing something wrong. But then when it came to this movie, everyone said it was amazing, and so I just thought it was kind of cool because, it's like, oh, for once people who play multiple characters get the respect that they deserve. Because honestly, like, playing multiple characters is probably the hardest acting that you could ever do in a movie. And I'm being 100% serious. Like, yeah. Next up is The Apprentice. My favorite genres of movies in general are horror movies and true story movies. And The Apprentice is kind of a bit of both. It is definitely a horror movie, and it is also a true story. The reason why it isn't in the top 10 is because it's very depressing, and it's very hard to watch, and I would say it is not rewatchable. However, I really enjoyed it the one time I watched it, and the one and only time I watched it. And I liked how they got the 70s right. I liked how it felt like it was the 70s. It didn't feel like one of those movies that it's like, oh, this is modern day, but it's taking place. No, it felt like the 70s on film. And I also feel like this movie was kind of neutered. I feel like for some reason it wasn't promoted enough, and I feel like this movie should have been the biggest movie of the year for obvious reasons. I mean, it's a very good movie in terms of, like, its historical significance and also just being a good biopic. I mean, I love biopics. Next up is Velma. This is a fantastic, underrated movie. It's all about this old woman who gets scammed, and she basically spends the whole movie tracking down her scammer on a scooter with one of her friends from a retirement home. And I thought that this was another real good feel-good movie. It was a very warm and pleasant movie. It was a lot of fun. It was funny. I love the relationship between Velma and her friend. I thought that they did really good. I love the part where actually there's like a big surprise cameo by Malcolm McDowell. And basically it just hammers home the message of the movie, which is you gotta work within your limitations. Because, like, this main character, like, you never would have thought she would have gotten to where she was at the end of the movie. But she did it. And she accomplished her goal. And so it was really, really good. I loved it. I actually am sad it's not in the top 10. Now for the top 10. Number 10 is Sonic the Hedgehog 3. This is another one where we get to see a character play multiple roles, technically. Basically, the majority of this movie is just Jim Carrey acting with himself. And that is just a treat to watch. He is such an inspiration as an actor. Probably not as a human being, but as an actor for sure. And just that alone, Jim Carrey acting with himself. It was incredible. Number 9 is Deadpool and Wolverine. This is one that I kind of don't like as much as I did when I first saw it because of the real life stuff that has happened since and that has been revealed with Ryan Reynolds. I mean, spoiler alert, him and his wife are bullies, and his wife falsely accused the director of a movie that she made with him, and just reading all the stuff with him and his disgusting wife, it really, really sours me on this movie. And I frankly, I don't even want to talk about it because I really, really despise false accusers. And I really despise disgusting people like Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively. Number 8 is Juror Number 2. This was Clint Eastwood's probably last movie. And unfortunately, Warner Brothers said, fuck you to him. And This movie, it was a solid, fantastic movie. It was really intense. It felt like a classic suspenseful movie. I love seeing Nicholas Hoult because he's like a really underrated actor. I think that the thing that the movie did really good was that it just asked questions the whole movie. It just kept on asking question after question, and that's what a good mystery should do. It shouldn't just be giving you answers the whole time. It should be asking questions. And yeah, that sounds pretentious, but yeah. Number 7 is Salem's Lot, the remake. I actually wish that I could put this movie higher. I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. I thought that it was such a surprisingly good remake. I had a lot of fun with it, and I think that the person who made it, he really, really tried. You could tell, like, this was a movie that should have had another movie that Warner Brothers screwed over. It was another movie that, like, it got really fucked up in post-production, and they kind of sabotaged the release. This movie should have been in theaters. It would have been perfect to put in theaters around Halloween, but no, they sabotaged it. They put it on online on HBO Max, and yeah, and but I love this movie. I had so much fun with it. I'll definitely watch it again next Halloween, or I mean this Halloween. Number 6 is Fly Me to the Moon. This was actually a really surprising movie. It's all about this romance between this this guy who works at NASA and this marketing woman. I can't really remember. I saw it. I've only seen it once, but basically it's these two people who are in charge with faking the moon landing and shooting it like a movie. And it's really funny because you think from the bad trailers that it would turn out one way, but then as the movie goes on, it turns out completely different to what you'd expect. And it turns out to be really funny. And the last 20 minutes is just incredible. It just feels so powerful, and it's such a great romance. And yeah, I love this movie. I think it's definitely underrated, for sure. Number 5 is Anora. This movie was fantastic for a number of reasons. Number 1, it's made by the guy who did the Florida Project, which I think is one of the best movies of all time. I think Florida Project is like one of my all-time favorites. And number 2, wow, Mikey Madison, she said fuck you to Hollywood, saying that we need to have like sex police on all these fucking movies to ruin them and everything, because she and then the main actor, they chose not to have sex police on set. And this movie is like the most graphic sexual movie of the year, and they didn't have any problem shooting it whatsoever. So this movie just completely destroyed the idea that these sex police needed to be made standard, as SAG has now said that they need to be standard on film sets. It's just really hilarious. Like, she like obliterated people, and there were so many people on Twitter who got so upset about it, and that, crying and saying like, but we don't like that, like the main actors didn't have a problem with it, but all these people on Twitter have a problem, even though nothing bad happened or anything. And it's just like, it's fucking hilarious. But also, I would say, this movie, I loved how comedic it was, and at the same time it was really dark and really dramatic. And it reminds me of like what I try to do with my movies, where I try to have comedy in there even though I'm telling like a really heavy story. And I thought that this movie was kind of more of a comedy than I expected it to be. And that was probably my biggest problem with it, was that by the time the movie got serious, I wasn't really able to fully take it seriously because it was a comedy for so long in this movie. And I would also say that the whole thing with like the romance between her and then that Russian guy, Ivana, ew. You know, like, ew. Like, it just, it feels like a quote unquote romance that we see all the time nowadays, where you have a simp, basically, that's what he was, and he gives this woman a bunch of money, and then she basically loves him because of the money, and it's really gross to watch. Like, it's not a romance to me at all. It's just disgusting and gross, and but I think that like Mikey Madison just was incredible in this movie, and I loved her performance. I thought that she really, 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 really put herself out there for this role in a way where, you know, she deserves awards, and she deserves acclamation for doing something that I don't think any other actress in Hollywood would have been capable of doing nowadays. I think that, you know, they just can't handle it anymore. They can't handle this kind of heavy, real source material. And, you know, but Mikey Madison, she obliterated everyone. I mean, she really, really did. I mean, I just can't believe it. Like, I was so shocked that, like, out of all the movies, out of all the movies, like, that used Sex Police, like, this was the one that didn't. I was like, wow, well, good on them. Like, finally, we just get a normal movie that comes out. And so I'm really glad to have watched this movie and to have given it a chance, because I loved everything. I loved everything about it. I loved the director's style, and I couldn't stop smiling the whole movie because it was so funny and so much fun, and I loved all the characters. I think that Toros was my favorite character, though he was really underrated because I really felt sorry for him. I know that he was like one of the bad guys in the movie, technically, but I don't think he really had anything against Annie. I think that he was just really terrified of losing his job, whatever, relationship with this powerful family. And so I really felt sorry for him, and I thought he was so hilarious, the way that he was like, you know, he really, really like needed to get this task accomplished by any means necessary. And the movie also kind of reminded me of Uncut Gems, too. So if you like that, you definitely would like this movie. Number 4 is Reverse the Curse. This is David Duchovny's movie. He wrote it and directed it and starred in it. And it is a movie all about this guy who is taking care of his terminally ill father, and he's trying to convince him that his favorite baseball team is suddenly having a winning streak, and it leads to some other stuff. But this movie is the most underrated movie of the year because it prioritizes the one element of movies that has been severely lacking, and that is script. This movie has a flawless script, flawless characters, a flawless story, and the fact that it emphasized the script so much really, like, made me happy. But I would also say, like, it's not the most rewatchable movie for obvious reasons. You know, it's a very heavy movie. It's very dramatic. It's very sad, but happy at the same time. It ends on a very happy note, but still. Number 3 is Smile 2. I gotta be honest, man. I love Smile 1. I think that it's one of my favorite modern horror movies of all time. Smile 2 is not as good as Smile 1, but for some reason I still enjoy it so much that I want to put it this high on the list. It is so entertaining, it's so enjoyable. I actually watched both Smile movies back to back, and I was just shocked at how good they were. And it really feels like old school horror, these movies. But the main reason why I like this movie, well, actually, there's two main reasons. Number one, this movie has balls. It has big balls. The ending of this movie is like a complete and utter kick in the balls. And it just, even though it was an ending that, you could say it's lazy, it felt so unexpected and so perfect, and it was so horrifying in like a really, really surreal way, and I loved it. I loved this movie so much. It's basically like a tragedy, and the number two reason why I really love this movie is because of Naomi Scott as Sky Riley. This is probably the sexiest movie character I have ever seen. I mean, holy shit. I was like, when I saw the trailer or the pictures for this movie, I was like, who the hell is that? I gotta find out who that is. Because, wow. I mean, I don't know how they made her so perfect. This character is a 10 out of 10 out of 10. Like, in every single scenario in this movie, I could not stop thinking about how sexy this main character was. And I've never seen, except for movies with Sharon, like, she is basically perfect in everything she's in. I have never seen a movie where, like, in every single scene of that movie, the main female character looks like this perfect. And so, yeah, I just gotta say that, like, just being honest. And number two is Abigail. This was like a party movie. It was another great vampire movie, and I was really, really surprised at how good this was. It had a lot of comedy, it had a lot of serious moments, but I just loved how much fun it had. It didn't take itself too seriously, and it did something new. It did something different, and it was so much fun. Number one is The Wild Robot, and that is the last one that I just finished. So this might be the first time in history where I have ended watching the best movie of the year. I would say that The Wild Robot feels like a classic Pixar movie. I don't know how they made this movie as good as they did, because, I mean, I was shocked. I had the lowest expectations, because I don't watch animated movies very much. I don't really care about animated movies. It's so good, and it's so heartwarming. There's so many emotional moments, and the story is just, it's so shockingly good. I mean, I don't know how they made such a good movie. And it's hard to even pick a favorite moment from the movie. It's like, ow, shit. It was like the whole movie was my favorite moment. I love the part where she is teaching Bright Bill how to fly. I thought that whole sequence was, like, just amazing. And yeah, I'm really shocked, by the way, that, like, a kid's animated movie turned out to be my favorite movie of 2024. But when you make a movie as good as this, it's like you're damn straight it's going to be the best movie of the year. And so, yeah, in general, I have fun with movies from 2024. 2024 was a long year. It was full of a lot of ups and downs. But I'm glad that I got to watch all these movies. And yeah, please like this video and comment. Tell me your favorite movies of 2024. And then please subscribe to our channel if you'd like to see more honest movie reviews. Because I guarantee I am the only movie reviewer on YouTube who will say, I put a movie in my top 10 best list because I thought the main actress was hot. There's a lot of other movie reviewers, and that's what they're thinking, but they're never going to say that because they don't want to be honest, because for some reason, honesty is frowned upon nowadays. Everyone has to be fake and phony, and they have to pretend, and they have to be quote-unquote nice. But it's like, yeah, being nice means just being yourself and saying your truth. And so that's what I do. I'm honest. And I don't like to lie. I really don't like to lie. And so, yeah. That girl from Heretic is hot. Naomi Scott is like a 10 out of 10, like on every level. And I am a mere 7 or 8 out of 10. So, so goodbye, everybody. See you soon for Hell's Kitchen.